So today I would like to make a video about studio safety and ventilation. This video will be added to my playlist starting oil painting, everything we need to know when starting oil painting. So I take advantage, maybe you hear, but there is some echo because we are right after the Christmas holidays. And I took advantage of that period of time to make a huge studio cleanup. So I'm very happy. My entire studio has been cleaned up, and now step by step I'm bringing back all my supplies in my studio, and actually not all my supplies. I do a selection. That way I have a very small studio here. That way I can be more organized for the year to come. I'm very excited about that. I might do a video about my studio. I will see, but right now I wanted to focus this video on ventilation and on studio safety. Painting with oils really requires kind of this studio safety. With acrylic is actually the same, but it's true. As acrylic, we use water. The smell and just the paint by itself equals less for studio safety, which is wrong because it's still paint and we still need to be safe. But it's true that when I used to paint with acrylic, I never even thought of studio safety. I used to open my window once in a while, but the smell of acrylic or anything related to acrylic never really bothered me. I never even used glove back then. But with oil paint, I feel it's different. So it doesn't mean that oil paint is more toxic than acrylic, not at all. I will do a separate video about that, about toxicity between acrylic and oil paint, if that's something interesting for you. No, with oil paint, it's just that the smell is very much more noticeable for me. At least the smell of oil paint is very much noticeable for me, especially when I have a few or even dozen of paintings drying in the studio at the same time. The smell is very strong. But more than that, with oil paint we can use some medium. These medium are highly toxic. The odorless mineral spirit, even though there is no smell, it's still very toxic. The turpentine is the most toxic. This one, well, it's very toxic, so the studio safety has to be very high. So for ventilation, we have a few options. There is the ventilation that we're gonna put on the wall. So we're gonna drill a hole and we're gonna place this ventilation that's gonna directly take the air from our studio and release it out there on the outside. So this, if you rent a place, it might be very difficult to do, even impossible. It's a pretty, in my opinion, pretty big solution, because you still need to make a hole in your house or in your studio or wherever you live, in your apartment. So in some cases, like I was before in Europe, in Switzerland, it would have been impossible to make a hole in the building like that. If you live in New York, it's most likely also going to be impossible if you live in a building to make a hole like this to have a proper ventilation. So then there is the option of opening the windows. That's the most basic. So to open the windows and to have a proper ventilation, we still absolutely need 2 windows. I know it's a bummer because I'm sure some of you have only 1 window. It's the case for me in this studio. I have only 1 window, and in the previous studio I had in Switzerland, it was also the case. I had only 1 window. So when it's like that, well, we still paint, I believe, and we open the window, but this is not the best. Honestly, it's highly recommended to have 2 windows so the air can circulate and leave your room, basically, to go outside, and new air from the outside can come in. So 2 windows will be the minimum ventilation, as well as a solution that's why I'm primarily making this video, because when I was looking for ventilation for my studio, I didn't see anybody mentioning that type of ventilation that I will talk about today. It's not a proper ventilation, it's not a system that is made for studio or oil paint, but it's a solution that I had with me. So I said, well, I'm gonna try. If it works, I'm just gonna keep it like that for now. So maybe, you know, a lot of people doesn't think of that, but they have this option actually at home or in their studio, and they don't use it because they didn't think it could act as a proper ventilation. At least for my case, it works. You have to check the models. I will show you exactly now what it is, but you have to check if you want to do the same than me. You have to check if your model work as mine, if your unit work as mine, because mine works wonderfully like that. So for my ventilation in my studio, I use actually a portable AC. So what they call here in America a portable AC, it's this type of unit here like that. And basically behind the unit you have a duct like that goes out of the unit, and here this duct is plugged to the window. So here I did an installation to block the window, so I don't have any light coming out coming by this window. That might change this year, I'm not sure. And this is because the sun shines through, and this duct emit light, so I block the light with a black tape like this. So basically what happens here is that this, when I turn it on like that, here we have a vent here, and so basically what's happening is that the air of the studio is sucked. I'm gonna turn it off. So what's happening is that the air of the studio is sucked by the vent that is behind. This air is sucked here, it goes in the duct, and whoop, and here, whoop, like that, it goes out of my studio. And then here the AC puts back some air from the front, basically. So I have new air coming out from the front, and the other air is going out of the studio. This one is not the best model. I know there is some models with two piece of duct that goes, so one for the air that goes inside and one for the air that goes outside. I think that would be the best solution. This one is a cheaper one, but it's one that I bought long time ago, and I never used it, and then suddenly when I did my studio I realized that I can use that to ventilate my studio, so I did it. It's not the best, but it actually works pretty good. I have a Dyson air purifier, and so I can check a little bit my air in the studio, and I used to release some smoke to see if the smoke will go through the machine, through the AC, and go out of the studio. And it did, it works. It really works well actually. When I use it, when I paint, I use it, and I really barely have any smell. The thing is, you might ask, yeah, but then you have an AC constantly working. It's very bad and it's very energy consuming. Well, it's actually good because it's not the AC that I turn on. You have different mode on this type of portable AC. So you can run the AC, you can run a dehumidifier, I believe, and you can run a regular fan. So basically when I turn on that machine, it's the fan that turns on, and so not the AC, right? Sometimes in summer I will use the AC, but most of the year, during the year, I only use the fan, so it's very low energy consuming. I don't know the numbers and everything, but it's way less than an AC compressor, because the compressor barely turns on. It actually never turns on with the fan. So this is what I need. I just need the fan to renew the air of my studio, and when I paint it works very good. So there we go. This is my solution to ensure the ventilation of my studio. It's not an academic solution, let's say, but that's also why I make this video, to share the information with you. Maybe that will help you to think of a ventilation solution if you have issue with the fact to ventilate your studio. I hope this helps. Remember to always ventilate your studio when you paint, or even when your paintings are drying on the wall. It's good to at least a few times a day to turn on the ventilation. It's very good to air the studio, and that's it. So that was my little video about studio safety. There is more to say about studio safety, but that was really focused on the ventilation. I hope this helped, and if you have other questions about studio safety, please put them in the comment below, and I will answer that directly, or make a new video if that's a topic I think it's worth sharing with more people. I'm looking forward to see you in the next video.